Hello and welcome to another edition of Scale JDM Reviews. On the bench you can see that we have the Haute Couture Style Elegance Toyota Aristo JZS161. This is another kit that I managed to purchase through Yahoo Auctions in Japan. This kit's actually quite special due to the suspension setup that they employ on this particular model. As you can see on the bottom of the kit, the top left Celsius, the white one here, it's almost like a lowrider stance with hydraulics. And I think this is what they've tried to do with this kit. Whereas the other Kiwami style kits that they have currently on the market, the suspension they employ uses screws, and you can adjust it with a little fine screwdriver to get the ride height and the camber settings that you want. Whereas this kit is slightly different because it actually has almost like ball joints on it, swivel joints, and they can be positioned and held so it can be as high as you want or as low as you want, as much camber as you want, and it can be adjusted on the fly within a few seconds. So without further ado, let's open this box, shall we? And there it is. I have actually unbagged all the parts. It just made it easier to do the review with everything loose. First thing we'll look at is the decals, and they are here. So as you can see, nicely detailed decals. You've got the navigation screen, a couple of badges, the Haute Couture signature decal, number plate surround as well, and some silvery reflective window screen stickers there. As is the all-important, the bottom left, bottom right, is the V300, which signifies that this car is actually a 2JZ turbo version of the Aristo and not the normal 2JZ NA. The next sprue that I'm going to show you is the suspension, showing all the swivel joints, as you can see there. These are, in fact, the brake discs in the car, in the kit. Sorry, dropped it. And you can see they're not normal, or not what you class as normal discs, or even a normal suspension setup. You've got some swivel joints here, and this will allow the suspension to be adjusted on the fly. So it'll be quite interesting to see once this kit is built how it looks. But you can also do the camber, as mentioned before, and have it as high or as low as you want within the kit specs. We have the glass sprue, which is it's just a normal standard Aristo GS300 glass sprue. The windows are masked up. You can see where you need to paint them on the front and the back screen. You've got some detailing on the backlight clusters there, and you've also got the rear fogs, front fogs, and the dual front headlights glass there, along with some indicators. The next thing we're looking at is the front and rear body mounts. Now these are not normally like this on an Aristo kit, but I think due to the way they've set up the suspension, when they redesigned the chassis part, they redesigned these mounts as well. It could mean that the actual chassis they've used is used on all of the kits, including the Celsius and the older style GS. So these bits obviously would be different on those cars due to the different body shapes at the front and back. Hence why you need to attach them separately. Next part is this small black one here. This is the body kit. It's a very subtle body kit. It should look quite nice once it's on. It's almost a standard kit. You've got the rear bumper there, which is looking a little bit contorted, so that would need to be adjusted with some heat before I build the kit. Dual exhaust outlet, of course, and this would just fit under the rear bumper. You could probably sand that down to make it a lot thinner at the edges there, so when it sits on it, it sits a lot flusher. Obviously the side skirts and the front bumper with a lower valance as well. Right, let's start with the interior pieces. So we have the Aristo /GS300 dashboard, nicely detailed. You've got the multimedia center, obviously navigation, 3 dials, air vents, and the pedals, normal standard parts. We also have the center console with the automatic transmission gator and a couple of cup holders, which would be underneath that flap just there, and a few switches on the back here, which would normally be for things like automatic suspension setting. You've got your traction control, things like that, or a snow mode maybe, and obviously the window screen wipers on the top there. Next up, on the interior side of things, we have, let's move that back into place, the front seats. As you can see, they are meant to represent leather on the inserts there. They would look really nice in a nice satin black. In fact, Zero Paints do a leather interior colour for this, so that's what I'll be using when I build the colour. We've also got the seat backs as well, and the steering column, steering wheel, and the automatic transmission shift knob there. And the last part of the interior is, of course, just going to get those up, is the back seats. Again, they are leather look, so will look fantastic. A nice bit of flocking on the carpet here, and the centre would really make it stand out, definitely. One thing I tend to do on seats in VIP cars is I tend to add some, with a Sharpie, some slightly different colours to give it a bit of kind of a stitching effect. And it does come out quite nicely, to be honest, as it does with the door cards. You've got the front and rear there. These inserts are usually a leather type substance, and again with a bit of stitching detail can really make it pop. We've got a couple of number plates here and the rear view mirror. Right, next up onto the chassis. Now, my suspicions that this is an all-in-one chassis for the Luxy range of kits. Could just be a suspicion on my part, as I've not seen another Luxy kit. I am looking at some at the moment, and obviously when I get another kit I'll be able to confirm, unless anyone else knows already. If they've built one of the Celsius or something like that, they can put in the comments below whether the chassis was identical to this. It is also obviously designed for the suspension components that come with this car to allow it to sit how it does. It's not a typical Aoshima Aristo chassis. Obviously you can see that here the rear and the front attachments would fit, and they would attach to the body from there. I think once painted up and shaded and detailed a bit, it would still look quite nice though. Right, next on to the rest of the chassis components. So straight away you can see the biggest part is the dual exhaust system with what looks like cherry bombs or something. They could be extended exhaust parts, but again, I've not seen under an Aristo for a very long time, so I can't remember if those are standard or not. Got the front subframe and a rear spoiler here, which I don't think is actually needed on this particular kit. We've got the rear view mirrors, and we've also got a chassis attachment piece. Now this would normally be used on the normal Aristo kits. I don't know if it's employed on this particular one, but I will have a quick look when I look at the instructions. And you've got the little spindle bits that go through the brake hubs that you attach your wheel to there. Okay, next up is the chrome sprue. We have the front grille there, which is obviously very shiny, and we've also got the rear view mirror inserts and a couple of exhaust pipe tips there. Now obviously on a real car it wouldn't be this shiny, so what I tend to do is I use this stuff, which is a shade, as it says, and what it does is it actually just runs into the little gaps. It leaves obviously the higher level bits of chrome there outwards, and obviously everything behind that is going to be darker, and actually sets it off quite nicely, just so it gives off that slightly more realistic look, a bit more detail to it, makes it stand out, but it's not in your face. Next up we have the body shell, which is really nicely moulded into black. I love black Aristos. I think they look absolutely fantastic. Even just like this, it looks like it's going 100 miles an hour. But yes, it's looking good. It's a standard Aristo body. Obviously the front bumper is not there because that's on the sprue. The rear one is attached, and that lip would just go along the bottom there like that. I can't really see, although just on that back you can see there where the mould line is. That can be sanded out. It's very minimal on both sides. It even follows the crease of the roof, so it's not needed. You don't need to do any maintenance there with it, and just comes down the front bumper just there. You can just see it on both sides. So very minimal sanding work to do to get rid of those mould lines. And of course on any VIP kit you want to sand down the inside of these wheel arches to get them really thin, so that the wheels look ultra close, nicely fitted. And speaking of wheels, we have them right here. Now these were already put together when I'd received the kit, so somebody else has obviously wanted to have a look at them and see what they were like. They are nicely chromed out. My finger smudge marks all over them now, which is not so great. But the tyres are extremely low profile. They do look like 20-inch or maybe 21-inch wheels in scale. And what we'll do is we'll get the body kit here and just put it there, so you kind of get a look to see what it will look like on the car. Obviously the car's got to be low since it's a VIP ride. And to be honest, they don't look that bad, in all fairness, but I'm a big fan of deep dish wheels, so I don't think I'll be using these particular wheels in this kit. They might go for something else though. Okay, and next we have the instructions. So move that box out of the way, and voila. Obviously in Japanese, it's an Aoshima kit. As always, we'll just open that out, and we can see the kit as it's meant to look. Obviously this is a standard ride height, it's not been lowered, there's no camber, but it does look like a very tidy kit, to be fair, even if it's just a curbside kit. On the next page we've got the suspension installation. You can see the swivel joints where it attaches to the wheel hubs itself, and then where those parts then attach to the rest of the chassis here. And at the front here you can see the attachment that we were talking about before, and there we go, there's the bar that I was questioning earlier. It is still needed on this kit, so that's fairly good, but this is, I'm pretty sure, just to fit the Aristo, and that chassis is definitely used on other kits. We've got the exhaust installation down there with the tips, and on the next page we have the wheels, which go on quite quickly, although I'd like to see a bit more detail on the brakes just there. Interior, obviously they've got colour coding there, you can do it however you'd like, to be honest, but it does show you that the different colours and shades to make it look kind of factory, if that's the way you want to go. Next page we have is the window installation. Obviously these would need to be masked off and painted before you did that, and you've got the front lights, wing mirrors and the grille, and then the rest of the body kit as it comes down. So, final installation, interior onto the chassis, then body onto the chassis, and there you have your kit. Interestingly enough, the next page is detailing how you adjust the suspension, which means it can go up and down, and you do have the camber adjustment there on the front as well as the back. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that goes. Obviously, if you really wanted a detailed build regarding suspension, I would probably just suggest to go for the Explosion Aristo, or maybe one of the K-brake versions, because the chassis is built up using springs and screws, and they can be adjusted as suited. They're not as adjustable as this kit, but for chassis detail and obviously brakes, they look much better. There we go. Lastly, we have all the parts of the kit listed out here, with the two parts that are needed, which are in this case the front subframe and the rear wing, which I didn't think we'd need. Yeah, it's other than that, you won't have many spares off this kit. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed watching this review of the kit. Hopefully it might spur you on to purchase it yourself. Obviously these kits are great, customised, and they do look fantastic when they're fully built. Please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a comment on any kits that you'd like to see, any tips that you want me to start putting up, which I will do soon enough. And yeah, have a great day. Bye.